I suppose because I like working with people, it would have had to have been something with people. I wouldn't have been very, very happy. What I don't like about my own job, sometimes I have to sit there on my own with a big pile of paper in front of me and go through paper and paper and paper. And I have to do it because that's part of the job, but I don't like doing that bit. So I like being with people. So, what would I like to have been? I couldn't have been an astronaut then, could I? Or some deep sea diver, because that's pretty lonely when you're doing those things. I'll have to think about that, and I'll think and see if I can come up with a good answer.
Maybe a maths teacher.
Maybe a maths teacher.
Next.
How do you feel about the cuts to children's centres and local baths and libraries?
Well, they're very bad because, you know, I've just, funnily enough, you know, the swimming pool up the road here. I've just written to the council, which is, you know, the town hall in Manchester. That's where a lot of the decisions are made about things like that. And I've just written to the town hall to try to find out what's going to happen exactly to the house passing twin baths, because we know that one itself is going to close. But what I want to know is whether there's going to be something that replaces it, because, you know, for you as you're growing up, who likes swimming? Yeah, you all like swimming. I like swimming, by the way. Swimming's dead good because swimming's... Do you like swimming? Okay. See, that's really important. And I'll tell you why. Because, you know, when you're young, like you are now, and you're young still, but not... but when you're like your age, you can run around forever. And the rest. But when... I still go and run, actually. I still like running because it's quite nice. But lots of people, as they get a bit older, they stop doing anything very active. And swimming is a really good way of doing things. And if you go into that swimming pool, you may have seen this. You'll see even the really old people who are out there swimming, because it's something you can do whether you're 9 months old, or to be 99 years old, you can go swimming. So I think swimming is a really fair thing for everybody. And I've always gone swimming. And I've always, you know, when my young children were little, like you were, I took them to the swimming pool when they were really dead young, when there's, you know, little, did you have little thingies, the armbands on you, when they're just little babies, and they sat there thinking, why am I here, I don't know what they put me in this water for, I don't understand this, but then they learn to swim, and, you know, that's, so I think it's really bad if we've not got things like swimming pools. And the children's centre, you know, next door here, I was in there a couple of weeks back, actually, and that's something that's really important for have you got little brothers and sisters?
Yeah.
Yeah, how old?
4.
4. So you're in school now, then?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
A month old.
A month old, that's quite little, yeah. So you really are a big sister now. This is a little girl. You're going to be really bossy. Yeah. But you see, the children's centre is a really good way of getting them a good start, so that when they come into school, they'll be really much more ready for school if they've been through the children's centre. So, of course, the children's centres will be a really bad thing. So we're still trying to make sure that we don't see big cuts in the children's centre. We keep missing you, man, because it's reach around like that.
Were you involved in the new school build?
In the new school, but only a little bit, really. I mean, it was done a lot by other people. I mean, Mr. Tennant, your head teacher, did an awful lot. And there's somebody called, do you remember the Reverend Ranch, who you must have seen in your school lots of times? And he's just moved, and he was a good man. And he was very involved in it. And there's somebody called Jim Battle, who...
Yeah.
Do you know Jim Battle? Yeah. Well, Jim's a good friend of mine, and Jim, he's a politician as well. But a different kind of politician, because I go to London a lot, whereas Jim does most of the things here in Manchester. And Jim was one of the people who did come with Mr. Tennant and Reverend Rauch. Those are the ones who really got the thing together and rattled everybody along. But I was involved a bit, because I mean, you know, it's because it's dead obvious really that, you know, the 2 old buildings you used to have, and then were in the day they would be nice and good, but they were not what your generation, your age ought to have. You ought to have an excellent school, and this one is excellent, so it's really good to get this built. And I think the funny thing is, I remember Jim Battle saying to me that on the same week that this was opened, they opened the secondary school, the big secondary school, the East Manchester Academy, and he said to me, and it's probably true, never again will you, in the same week, will you see a new primary school and a new secondary school open there. So by the time you're old enough to go to secondary, who are you? Where are you going?
East Manchester.
Well, you're going to go from a brilliant school to a brilliant school. So yeah, so, and it's dead good there. I mean, I'm really pleased because with East Manchester Academy, I had a lot more to do with that one actually, as it happens, for just different reasons. Sometimes it's who you've got to push to make things happen, and with the building of this, you probably wouldn't quite have to push quite as hard on in London, whereas with the East Manchester Academy, you have to push people a lot harder at that end. So anyway, you've got great schools, great buildings, and actually great people to go to those schools.
Thank you for coming so you can answer our questions.
I think they're really nice questions actually. Because let me just say something new, because what you're all doing on the school council really is important, because you said to me before about what's politics. Well, actually, you're kind of all politicians here, because did you get picked by your own class? Yeah. Yeah. So, and how did they pick you? Go on.
Each person picks someone and then they vote.
Yeah. And how did you vote?
Because the person who got picked the most and the other person who got picked the most, they pick out of them.
Yeah, well, that's it.
And it's always a boy and a girl out of each class, but in year 5, the girl who's the school council left, so then they had another draw and it came over me.
Oh, I see. Okay, well that's fair. No, because in fact that's exactly why I'm an MP, because that's more or less the same thing. Around here, people like the people who are over 18 in your families, they can vote in the elections for the Member of Parliament, and also Jim Battle's what they call a councillor, and so people can vote for the councillors, and so in that way politicians are elected in very similar ways to the way you became members of the school council. And actually what you do, the school council, is you sit around together and you say, well, like you said about the conversation about school uniform, should you wear school uniform? Because you had to make a decision, didn't you? Yes, school uniform. No, not school uniform. And you made that decision by talking around the school council and thinking about those things. And that's exactly what any politician's job is. It's saying, look, with different things, you have to make choices. Because you can't, if you've got 20 pence, you can't buy both all Mars bars and at the same time buy all lemonade, can you? You've got to choose with 20 pence because there's not enough there. So you've got to choose which you're going to have. And sometimes when you're talking about, like when all of you are making choices, you have to choose, you have to make decisions between you, and you'll start out thinking one thing and you'll start out thinking something different, but by the end of it, you've come to an agreement between you. And so you're politicians, because you're the politicians in the school council. And so really, thinking about your question before, I should ask you what politicians do, because that's what you do in your school council. But anyway, thank you very much for your time.
If you didn't have this career, what?
Oh, that's true. Yeah, I didn't answer that. Well, I did teach a little bit before I became an MP. In fact, the last thing I did was to teach a little bit. I did lots of things when I was young. I mean, but the best things is the best for me, not for everybody. But what I might have liked to have been, because the other thing I do like is the world of plants and animals. and maybe, if I'd gone right back to the very beginning. An archaeologist, well, that'd be an interesting one. Archaeologists, I mean, mainly dealing with things that are pretty much gone, aren't they? Taking what's the oldest bits in Manchester?
That mill.
That's quite old, but much older than that.
Is it canal?
The canals are quite old, but we've got things that are much older in Manchester, even than the canal. Well, I'll tell you what it is. If you go, do you know Deansgate in town? If you go to one end of Deansgate, there's a bit of an old Roman fort. So when the Romans were here 2,000 years ago, more or less, they built a fort here in Manchester. So it means we're really quite an old city. And just in passing, much older than Liverpool, Mr. Towns.
I'll debate that one.
Much older than Liverpool, which is a very modern city. It's only about 1,000 years old.
Yeah.
Whereas Manchester's 2,000 years old.
Okay, so boys and girls, what do you say? Mr. Lloyd, come in.
Thank you, Mr. Lloyd.
No, it's lovely to see you all. No, thank you for being
Thank you
here.
very much.